Today we're making a textured shoulder bag with the bean stitch. You can find the free written pattern with extra tips at vivcrochets.com or linked in the description. And if you find this tutorial helpful, please leave a like or comment to let me know. Thanks so much, and let's get started. For this project, I used about 90 grams of Red Heart Super Saver in Pale Plum. This is a medium weight acrylic yarn, and you can use any medium weight yarn you want. And I'll also be using a 5mm hook, some scissors, a yarn needle, and some stitch markers. And you can substitute safety pins or bobby pins for the stitch markers. And as always, everything will be linked in the description. First, we're going to make the base of the bag, and we're going to start with a slip knot. So to make a slip knot, place the yarn over your hand with the tail end at the bottom. Hold the yarn with your thumb and make sure you have about this long for a loose end. Then grab the top, wrap it around 2 fingers to form an X, and hold it with your pinky. Then use your hook and go under one side of the X, then over, grab the other side and pull it through. Remove your fingers and tighten the knot. And we're going to chain a little less than the width of the bag we want. So to chain, yarn over and pull through. Again, yarn over and pull through. And the number of chains you do must be an odd number. So here I have 33 chains, and it's about 19 centimeters long. With 33 chains in my foundation, my bag ended up being 26 centimeters wide. If you want a smaller bag, you can do less chains, and if you want a bigger bag, you can do more chains. And remember, you have to do an odd number. Now we're going to skip the first 2 chains. So there's 1 and 2, and then in the next chain, we're going to do a bean stitch. So to do a bean stitch, we're going to insert our hook into that chain. Just go into that V and under the top loop. Like that. Then we'll yarn over and pull through. And we're keeping our tension pretty loose, so I'm pulling up my loop like this. Then we'll yarn over, insert our hook back into that same space, yarn over, pull through, and we'll pull it up to the same height. So all of the loops on our hook are about the same height. Then we'll yarn over, insert our hook into that same space, yarn over, pull through, and pull it up to the same height. And we should have 6 loops on our hook, and we'll yarn over and pull through all 6 loops. And every single time we complete the bean stitch, we're going to chain 1. And then we'll skip the next chain. So we'll skip this one, and in the next we'll do another bean stitch. So again, insert your hook into that chain, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, insert your hook into that same chain, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, insert your hook into that same chain, yarn over, pull through. Then you have 6 loops on your hook, and we'll yarn over, pull through all 6 loops, and chain 1. And we're going to repeat this. So we'll skip 1 chain, and in the next we'll do a bean stitch. So a bean stitch, you basically pull up a loop once, and then you yarn over and pull up a loop twice. So some tips to work this stitch: when we pull up a loop, we want to make it pretty loose, and also when we yarn over, pull up a loop, make it loose, and yarn over, pull up a loop, make it loose. So everything is pretty loose on our hook, and it's easier for us to yarn over and pull through all 6 loops. And when we do pull through all 6 loops, we're going to hold on to the bottom of these loops right here. So since we're holding the loops here with our thumb, we're going to use this thumb and push the hook that direction so that when we pull our hook through, it can slide through without getting caught in any loops. And then every time we finish, we need to chain 1. So one more time, we're going to skip the next chain, and then in the next, insert your hook, pull through, yarn over, insert your hook, pull through, yarn over, insert your hook, pull through, yarn over, pull through all 6 loops, and chain 1. So that is the bean stitch, and we're going to work this all the way across. So now I'm at my last 2 chains. We'll skip the next chain, and in the last one we'll do our bean stitch. So here is my row 1. If you stretch it out, it should straighten out. And now we're going to rotate this like this, and we're going to work on the underside of the foundation chain. So we're going to work into these same spaces that we worked in, just on the opposite side. So this last chain we just went into, we're going to go back into that chain and do a bean stitch. And also you can hold this tail end over your hook and we can hide it in our stitches. So we'll do a bean stitch into that same chain that we just went into. So you can see this chain has a bean stitch on this side and on this side. And now we'll move on to the next one. And we'll go into the same space that this bean stitch is in and do another one. Then we'll go on to the next one and do another one into the same space, just on the opposite side. So now you can see I have one bean stitch over here, one over here, one here, and then on the opposite side, and then one here and one on the opposite side. And we're just going to go across, doing the bean stitch into every chain that we went into before. And remember to always chain 1 after you complete your stitch. So I've gone across and I'm at my very last one. So this last bean stitch is in this chain here. So we'll do our last stitch into here. And then we're going to look at this first bean stitch and we're going to look for the 2 V's that are at the top. So this bean stitch here has a V right here and it has one right here. We're going to go into the one on the right and go under that V and we'll do a slip stitch. So we'll yarn over, pull through, and pull through the loop on our hook and tighten it. So that'll connect the last stitch with the first stitch to close the round. So now we finished round 1. Now we're going to start round 2, and to start every new round we'll chain 2 and we'll turn. So instead of working back around this way, we're going to flip it and we're going to work down this way. So in the first stitch, we're going to work 2 bean stitches. And to find the first stitch, we'll look at this bean stitch right here. And at the top, there are 2 V's. And we're going to work into the one on the left. So we'll go under this V and we'll do a bean stitch. That's one, and we'll do another one into the same space. So go back into that space and do another bean stitch. So now you can see there are 2 into this one space. And you can see it's kind of hard to see where this round starts. So we're going to use a stitch marker and we're going to mark the first bean stitch. So this is the first bean stitch of the round, and we're going to look at the 2 V's at the top, and in the one on the right we're going to put our stitch marker, because this is the one that we're going to slip stitch to. So once we go all the way around, we'll know when to stop. So round 2, we did 2 bean stitches in the first stitch, Now we'll move on to the next stitch, and we'll look at this next bean stitch, and we'll go into the space to the left of it. So here are the 2 V's on top of this bean stitch. We'll go into the one on the left, and we'll do just 1 bean stitch. Then we'll move on to the next bean stitch, and to the left of it, we'll do another one. And then the next, we'll go into the left of it and do another bean stitch. And we're going to continue doing just 1 bean stitch until we have 14. So not including these 2 here. So after these 2, we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then at 14 we'll pause. So here I did my 2 bean stitches into the first stitch, and then I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And now we should be at the very end. So this is the next bean stitch, and in the next stitch we're going to do 2 bean stitches. So there's 1, and we'll go back in and do another one. So now we have 2 into this 1 space. And then in the next stitch, we'll also do 2 bean stitches. So this one here, we'll go into the left of it and do a bean stitch. And we'll do another one into that same stitch. So to recap, we have 2 in the first stitch, and then we have 14, and then we have 2, and then we have 2, and now we're going to do 14. So we'll move on to the next stitch, and we'll start doing just 1 bean stitch until we have 14 on this side. So after the 2 times I did the 2 bean stitches, I did 14. And now we should be at the very last stitch of the round. So this bean stitch, we're going to work to the left of it, and we'll do 2 bean stitches into this 1 stitch. And now we have our stitch marker to remind us that we're at the end of the round, and we're going to take it out and insert our hook into that stitch. So it's to the right of the first bean stitch of this round. We'll go under that V, yarn over, pull through, and pull through the loop on our hook and tighten. Again, that's a slip stitch, and we'll do that at the end of every round. So now we're going to work the body rounds, and these rounds are going to be worked the exact same way as last round, except it's just going to be 1 bean stitch into every stitch. So we're not doing 2 anymore. And again, to start a new round, we're going to chain 2, and then we'll turn, and we'll work down this way. So we'll find the first bean stitch, which is right here, and we're going to work into the left of it. So go in here and do a bean stitch. And then we can use our stitch marker again to make sure we don't miss this stitch. Then we'll move on to the next bean stitch, and we're going to do 1 bean stitch into the left of it. And we'll move on to the next and do 1 to the left. And we're going to work all the way around into each of these spaces and do just one bean stitch into every single stitch. And when we reach our last bean stitch, we're going to do our final bean stitch into this last stitch, and then we'll remove our stitch marker. And slip stitch to close the round. So here I have my 3 rounds, and you can see it's starting to curl around the edges, and that's good because we want it to start folding like this. We're starting to build up the height of the bag. And the rest of our rounds are just repeats of round 3. We'll chain 2, turn, and we'll do a bean stitch into every stitch. And we're going to mark the first bean stitch we do, and we'll do a bean stitch into every stitch all the way around. And then once we get back here, we'll do our final bean stitch into this space, remove our stitch marker, and slip stitch to close the round. And that's how the rest of our rounds are going to go to build up the height of the bag. And you'll notice that when the bag gets bigger, it's going to start to fold like this. And from the outside of the bag, it's easy to crochet, but once you do the chain 2 and turn, you'll be on the inside of the bag. So what you can do is just flip it inside out, like that, and then you'll be working along the outside of the bag again. So it doesn't matter if you flip the bag, just do whatever makes it easier to crochet. And we're going to continue repeating round 3 until we get the height of the bag we want. So here I've done 18 total rounds, and that's 2 for my base and then 16 after that. And it's about 26 centimeters wide and 15.5 centimeters long. If you want a shorter bag, you can do less rounds, and if you want a longer bag, you can do more rounds. So round 19 is optional. We're going to make a border around the top, just a slip stitch border, and it'll make it look a little more finished. And the slip stitches will also help the opening from stretching out. So first we're going to chain 1 and turn like we've been doing. And I'll turn my bag inside out so I can work from the outside. And then in every chain and in every stitch, we're going to work a slip stitch. So before we were always skipping over one of these V's and going into this one. But for this round, we're going to work under both V's. We'll insert our hook under that first V, yarn over, pull through, and pull through the loop on our hook. And we're not going to tighten it. Then we'll work into the next stitch. We'll go into this stitch, yarn over, pull through, and pull through the loop on our hook. And then we'll go into this chain and do a slip stitch. And then in the next stitch, we'll do a slip stitch. And we'll do that all the way around. And you can see I'm not making my slip stitches too tight or too loose. You want to make sure that it's always laying flat. So if your slip stitches are too tight, then it might bunch up like that. And if it's too loose, it might flare out. And then I'm on my last bean stitch, and I'll do a slip stitch to the right of it and then a slip stitch to the left. And that's the final slip stitch. And we'll slip stitch to the first slip stitch that we made this round. So go under this V and do your slip stitch. And this one will tighten. And there's row 19. And you can decide if you want this side to be on the outside or the other side. I prefer the back of the slip stitches to be on the outside, so I'm going to turn mine inside out. Now we're going to fasten off, and we'll work these straps separately. So to fasten off, chain 1, And then we'll cut our yarn about this long and pull through with your hook and tighten the knot. And now we can work on the strap. So for the strap, we're going to make another slip knot, and instead of leaving the normal tail end, we're going to do double that because we're going to use this end to sew the end of the strap to the bag. And we'll wrap the top around 2 fingers to form an X. And with our hook, we'll go under one side of the X, over, grab the other side, pull it through, remove our fingers, tighten the knot. So we have this long loose end on one side. Now we're going to chain a little less than the length of the strap we want. So here I have 51 chains, and it looks like it's really small, but we'll stretch it out, and also the weight of whatever you're carrying is going to stretch it a little bit. So my 51 chains is about 27 centimeters long. And now we're going to start row 1, and we're going to make the strap in single crochets. So to do a single crochet, we'll work into the second chain from the hook. So there's the first, there's the second, and we'll insert our hook into that chain, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through the 2 loops on your hook. Then we'll move on to the next chain, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. And we're going to do single crochet into every chain across. So now row 1 is done, and we can start the next row to make the strap wider. And to start every new row, we're going to chain 1 and turn. Now we're going to be working under these V's on top of the stitches. So this V here is the chain we just made, and then this one is the first stitch of the row. So we're going to go under this V, and we'll do a single crochet. Then we'll go to the next stitch and go under the V and do single crochet. And we're going to do single crochet all the way across. And when you get to the end of the row, make sure you don't miss the very last stitch, because it's a little easy to miss. So there's my second row of my strap, and if you want an even wider strap, you can chain 1, turn, and repeat the last row by just doing a single crochet into every stitch. And you can add as many rows as you want to make the strap as wide as you want. And you want to do an even number of rows so you're on the opposite side of the starting loose end. So here I've done 4 rows, and my strap is about 31 centimeters long by 2.5 centimeters wide. And it's very short, so we can stretch it out a little bit. And now it's stretched to about 36. And once you're happy with the width of the strap, we can fasten off by chaining 1, and then cutting our yarn about this long. We're going to leave it a little longer than normal so we can use it to sew this end of the strap to the bag. And then we'll pull through with our hook and tighten the knot. Now we can use these 2 loose ends on either end to sew the strap to the bag. First, we're going to mark the left and right sides of the bag where the straps will be attached. So we'll grab our stitch markers, and we want to make sure we flatten the bag, and we look for the stitch that's on the left. And then we can mark it. And then we'll look for the one on the right, and we'll mark this one as well. So you can see I have the left side and the right side marked. Now we'll take one of the loose ends on the strap and thread it into our yarn needle. And then we'll go over to one side of the bag and make sure your loose end is coming out the right side of the strap. And we'll line up the middle of the strap with the stitch that the stitch marker is in. And then where the bag meets the right corner of the strap, we're going to attach it by going under a stitch and pulling the yarn through. Now we can remove the stitch marker and we'll sew across the strap. So we'll go back to the strap and go a little to the left and go down through a loop and then over to the bag and go up under a stitch and pull the yarn through. And then we'll go back to the strap and go a little to the left and down under a loop, then to the bag and go up under a loop and pull the yarn through. And we'll do that a couple more times. And if the next stitch on the bag is too far, you can go back into the same stitch. And finally, we'll connect the corner of the strap to the bag. And if you don't want it to sort of pinch in, then we can repeat the corner of the strap to another stitch to the left on the bag. And that'll sort of pull it so it's straight. And then we need to tie a knot so that the seam doesn't come loose. So we'll just go under a loop next to where the yarn is coming out. Then pull through with your needle, but leave a loop. And go into that loop with your needle and tighten it to tie a knot. And you can do it again for a double knot if you want. And then we can work on the other side of the strap. First, we'll make sure that the strap isn't twisting. And then we'll grab the loose end and thread it into our yarn needle. And then we'll go over to the stitch marker and line it up again with the middle of the strap. And again, we'll attach the corner of the strap. Take out our stitch marker and start sewing the strap to the bag. Now it should look like this, and we can tie a knot the same way we did earlier. And now our strap is attached. And you can try it on, make sure the strap is long enough or the right width. And the last thing to do is to weave in our loose ends. So I'm going to take the last loose end that we left, and we're going to hide it in our stitches. So let's go to the inside of the strap, and I'll pull my yarn down to where the stitches are. And I'll go to the left under the stitches in the row. And then I'll pull my yarn through. And we'll go down to another row. And then we'll go back the other way under the stitches in this row. And pull the yarn through. And then we can just trim off the excess. And we'll hide all of our loose ends the same way. And our shoulder bag is finished. That's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you did, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know if you have any questions. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.